Hi, everybody. 1,048 days, I believe, since July 23rd, 2020, since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. And today we've reached a milestone. We've done something extraordinary today because it has taken 1,000 days, more than 1,000 days of vigilance, um, collecting information, organizing information, um, rallying, staying vigilant. Um, I I don't have the words to express what it has taken to get to this point and what it's going to take to move forward in this, except for it's the grace of God. Because anything this stressful is super stressful on a family. And you have to remember that, and I don't have to tell any of you, you all know that life doesn't stop. And so you have to be able to juggle, everything that's going on, especially Richard went missing in 2020 during the COVID. What do you want to call that? Crimes against humanity. That's what I want to call it. During that time and into 2021. And so it was very political. It's very political now, but it was super political then. It was very divisive. If you had a different opinion of the mainstream, it wasn't very nice, especially if you had attended J6, January 6th, like we did in 2021. We were there. We were there on that day. And and then if you're a Christian on top of that, and there were so many attacks on every front. You wouldn't really believe it unless you lived it. And then, of course, with Richard missing and all the suspicious activities going on around it, and just by asking about these suspicious activities and the lack of protocol, the lack of following standard operating procedures, then we became also a target. We have been threatened, I don't know how many times, multiple times, in many different ways. We have been bullied. We've been maligned. We've been lied to. Our identities have been stolen. And it just goes on and on. And I will share, I believe tomorrow, I'll share this tomorrow, the image that was used to go onto the yellow Interpol. Yellow Interpol. That's a double-edged sword in Richard Halliday's case, because that means that there was no urgency to find Richard. A yellow Interpol means that that Interpol does not use their resources to actively look for the person. And so you would have to be a different notice, like a red notice, a wanted person. That would mean that you would have had to have committed a crime, that there would be a warrant out for your arrest, etc., etc. And that's not the case in Richard's case. He was a yellow Interpol, and CID had jurisdiction over Richard's case, but we also have information how the FBI have played a part in this. And I'm just saying they received a photograph of Richard that they it had to be colluding, it had to be colluding, and they colluded together, and they submitted this image of Richard, kinda, to Interpol. And what do I mean by kinda? Well, we have done a forensic study on this photograph, and it was always strange. And we were asking, where did you get that photograph? I do not know that photograph, and it was a very strange photograph. And so we finally got around to, because we don't have a huge staff, we don't have unlimited funds, and we also have to deal with life that comes at us during this time. So we did finally get to this photograph and do a forensic analysis on it, a forensic comparison on it, and it we know that it's partially Richard, so it must be just like the picture, the painting picture I did of my dad. It's a composite, but it's with a different human being. There's another human being that is part of this picture. And so we turned it in, and we'll let you look at it. And but it is not a true picture of Richard. Absolutely not. And so when this was submitted by the CID to Interpol, I believe it was a crime. I believe it was a crime. And also, because it was a misrepresentation of Richard to an international audience, to an international organization reaching out across the world to help find Richard, and they misrepresented him. So this is very, very serious. And so we have so much tampering of evidence, and then of course we have the traced calls and where they led. We have also these locations where Richard's it is said that Richard's partial remains at these places, because the reports that we're getting is that he was dismembered. He was tortured and dismembered when he was murdered, and his remains were put in various locations. So yeah, we have all this information, and we only turned in this criminal complaint just a little bit, and that little bit is so much, and so I think that it's going to be interesting what the reaction is. I don't think that they're going to show it to me, but it will be, God will see it. God will see the reaction of these people when they read the criminal complaint about the forced disappearance, the conspiracy, and the murder in Richard Halliday's case. So I think it's very important what we have accomplished today, and I just want to say thank you so much, because when I look back at other live streams way back when, and I've posted some today, we have uncovered so much even since then. I mean, since the beginning, so much. So we do know now that Richard, which we didn't know at the beginning, we didn't know when we were in El Paso that Richard was a whistleblower. So now we know that Richard is a whistleblower. Now we know that he was a whistleblower for children's sake, because he went to Child Protective Services, and he went to the CID. So it is that in itself is a huge milestone that we will never forget the day that we learned that. So we want to thank everyone for all their contributions, all their tips, all their hard work in getting us to this point. But our task is not over with, right? We still don't have Richard's remains, and we want the FBI to give us Richard's remains. And what do I mean by that? And I hope that everybody is able to hear me. I should have checked first. But what do we mean by that? That we want Richard's remains. Well, we believe that the FBI are hiding, you heard me right, hiding the remains of our son. And I was thinking about Vanessa Guillen's case and Enrique Roman Martinez, Caleb Smither. I was also thinking about this soldier there on Fort Bliss who had a 14-year-old young girl living in his barracks with him, and he just got caught for months. That means that the leadership have not learned anything through Caleb Smither or Austin Hawk. They still are not following standard operating procedures for the barracks. Okay? And why they make the barracks co-ed, I don't understand. Whose bright idea was that? That is crazy. They need to stop that. They need to cut it out, because it is like minimum 9 males to 1 female. Okay? That female soldier does not need to be in the barracks when the ratio is 9 to 1 in the same, a co-ed barracks. No, they need to have their own space, their own safe space. And if the Army was really concerned with the safety of women and against sexual harassment and sexual assault, they would have put women in a separate barracks room a long time ago. So let me see. See if everyone can hear me. Thank you. I'm on. Thank you so much. And against sexual harassment and sexual assault. Wouldn't you need a government ID photo to be legitimate proof of identity, like driver's license or government ID to be an official form of ID? This is my opinion. Yes, and they did provide 2 pictures, so even a passport photo. Exactly. Prayers for justice, prayers. Danielle, you always have great insight. That's absolutely right. But they added a picture. Thank you, Anicia. Thank you, Danielle. And I believe that there shouldn't be a statute of limitations on Richard Halliday because his case is still under investigation. Absolutely. It is an ongoing case, and they just extended his, without his permission or anything, but they extended his enlistment until 2026, and they promoted him in December of 2022, and they promoted him just in April 2023 again, 4 months later. So I don't think there's a statute of limitations in Richard's case because it is still ongoing, and it is not a cold case. It is very much a hot case, a very hot case. So we did, and this was a very, very long criminal complaint that we put in for the forced disappearance, conspiracy, and murder of our son, Richard Halliday. And so it, and let me tell you, it is just one person, right, that this criminal complaint is on. It was for Leilani Hart. So, concise, so much information. And we still have so much more. Like I said, when I got on here and I said, we have it all. We have enough. I wasn't joking. We have so much. what do you think happened to Richard? Right? What do you think happened to Richard? Where is Richard? I mean, you just have to ask that question. This is unprecedented. The amount of bullying, the amount of lengths others have gone to smear Richard, to smear the family, to even steal their identity, to create a site, to be on there all the time. If Richard went AWOL, they wouldn't even bother. They wouldn't even bother, you see. And they would have talked to us. First Sergeant Michael Ruggiero, when we called him to ask him to clarify questions, he said he was unwilling to speak to us. This is when we were still in El Paso. Matter of fact, I'll put a time date on it and put it in the timeline that we're working on. And he could have clarified all kinds of things. And where were they when it came to our rallies? We had rallies. Did he ever come to try to give us information? Where was Jay Paulin? Where is Richard? And where is Richard's platoon leader? Right? We believe that Dallas Hart, absolutely, we maintain that Dallas Hart was Richard's platoon leader, and it makes everything make sense. Everything makes sense when you think about that and put that in there. And so we're waiting. We have an inquiry because we want it in official paperwork with a letterhead, with a watermark, with a signature, with a stamp that they say yay or nay. Yay or nay. But we maintain at this point that Dallas Hart was Richard's platoon leader because we have witnesses that have given us a testimony that Dallas Hart, this is Leilani Hart's son that was at the time having an incestual affair with his brother, and something similar to that was mentioned when we asked who this is, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's Dallas Hart. That's a platoon leader," and they gave us other information. So this is really, and there's multiple reasons to believe and witnesses to believe that Dallas Hart was Richard's platoon leader, and it makes sense on every level. Where is his platoon leader? We were never introduced to his platoon leader, and never, that was never. It was all cleaned up. They have plenty of time to do it because they did not contact family. You see, they did not contact family, so we were really behind. And now we understand why. We absolutely understand why. I wanted to show you the areas that we have for where the remains were found. And we believe, well, there's an extra one. We believe that very early on, the end of July into the beginning of August, because Richard was dismembered and his remains were placed in various locations. But we believe they found in this Red Rio Range area here, this is a whole range area, that his remains were found in this area. We believe that. And we're trying to get all of that out there to the public. Also, after that, there was remains found here in Juarez on this highway right here. Let's see if I can get the name of this highway, if it pops up. Because this is the, where is the OXO? See if I can find the OXO. Yeah. Here's the AUSA right here. Okay. There's the AUSA. And then you go up here. And there is the Santa Teresa port of entry. Okay. And so here's United States, here's Mexico. So that's how they would get there. Okay. So we believe that first remains were found here. Their remains were found here. Their remains were found here. And we believe there's a fourth place that we're looking. This is this Afghanistan village, you see. There's buildings here and there's buildings here. Those are trucks. Or no, those are some buildings. Those are some buildings. And I believe there's some buildings up here. Trucks. Equipment. Okay. But this is at MOPH Village. And this is where we were told in December of 2020 that Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe was looking for the remains of our son, Richard Halliday. And we believe that he found something. He didn't just go look there by chance. He found something. And we have these autopsy reports that correspond perfectly with these three locations. And it's three sets of remains. Now, the fourth area, maybe remains haven't been found. Maybe they're still out there. And if they're still out there, they need to be found. That would be a very big deal. Or it's just been so hushed. I don't know. Because they definitely are hiding, I believe, they're hiding Richard's remains because Nadal Baim said so. And I believe Nadal. I believe him because he's the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ACOM Richard's Command Operation Unit. Come on. Where is Richard? All of our proof, we don't have proof that Richard is in Mexico supporting any people over there. We don't have proof that he is AWOL. We don't have proof that he got an accident. We don't have any proof that he committed suicide. We don't have any proof that he's in down in Cancun. We don't have. Look, he's been missing 1,048 days. Nothing, not a peep, not an action, nothing. And yet we have proof after proof after proof after 1,000 days that there's foul play and that there's foul play and retaliation against him, whistleblowing to the Child Protective Services and whistleblowing to the Criminal Investigative Division. And now that we have a lot of proof. And I think Nadal Baim is a big part of that. And there's more, like Anthony Swafford, the military police right there at Fort Bliss, who heard from his guard mount the terrible character of Richard. But we know that's wrong because even the other day, and I want to say thank you so much to Clarence, that Richard was a great soldier. He was a great soldier. He was the Distinguished Honor Graduate for Basic Training and AIT. And I think that drives the enemy crazy when they hear that Richard, the truth about Richard, that Richard was a great soldier and Distinguished Honor Graduate of Basic Training and AIT and guide on bearer and whistleblower supporting and protecting children. I think that drives them crazy. So we need to keep saying it. This is a milestone. And Rob and I want to just say thank you so much for all the support that you have given us until now. has kept us going, because it is so stressful. Um, that you know that it's so stressful, and we are have been threatened, and so our lives have been threatened, and we don't have the support that you would think that $1 trillion in budget, trillions of dollars in budget would afford us. That, like the Bill Hicks, the DA there in El Paso, that he says he's for victims advocating, and yet we haven't heard back from him. So we're going to write him another letter too. I think it's very important. Prayers for justice, prayers for the Halliday family. Thank you so much during this time. And I put up a TikTok announcing it too. So thank you so much. If there's any other questions, would you need? Yeah, I think that's really good, Danielle. Very good insight. So I am, just I don't know. I'm in a pretty good mood. I was hoping that some other people would come on and give us something to well, I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it. But other points need to be made, right? They need to be made so that we can absolutely fill in all the gaps. Um, all the gaps will be filled in, because the stars in their course fought against Sisera, and the stars are lining up, y'all. And so I'm in a pretty upbeat mood today. Uh, Even though I know I've been thinking about Richard's birthday, because Richard's birthday is coming up. His birthday is the 24th of June, and I've been thinking about his birthday, thinking about him as a child. That's why yesterday in the live stream on Rumble, you can see him with those cookies on our kitchen table. Um, what a cute kid. Oh my gosh. I miss him. Um, so if you have pictures of him that are your favorite, just start posting him up in honor of his birthday, in honor of his life, in honor of his courage, his service to our country. Uh, yeah, any of the pictures that you thought were really, really wonderful. But it has to be a real picture of him, not a composite fake picture that the CID turned into Interpol, okay? And that the fake site uses. Isn't it funny? They use a fake picture of Richard. So yeah, thank you so much. And I think if you have any more questions, say live chat. You can add papers to affidavits. Oh yeah, maybe add pictures of the timeline with the affidavits. Absolutely. That's why we're working diligently on this timeline. And that has been a very hard thing to do, because there is so much information. You almost have to put something up for every day. And there's new information coming in all the time. All the time. So 3 days after Richard went missing, something might have happened too that we have to, something very big, that we have to, I'm just thinking, I know why. Yeah. That, I'll express it. Sorry. I'll express it in a couple days after I verify it. Yeah. Something happened 3 days after Richard went missing. So I don't know why that popped in my mind, that I just learned it and I had to share it, but I do. And I don't have any kind of script when I come on here. I might have some notes sometimes, but I don't have a script, because You, I think everyone needs to see what we have been put through, what we have to, uh, the convoluted case of Richard Halliday. They need to see it. So, okay, everyone. I am. I will be back tomorrow, God willing, and I will see you then. And Rob always says, don't forget, say I love you to everyone. We appreciate it. We thank you, and we will be back tomorrow, God willing.